Have you heard of a game called Cruelty Squad? Well, congratulations, now you have, and I'm here to tell you about it, and why you should play it. Alright, so this game is basically like Hitman on an acid trip. Also, it has PS1 graphics. The game takes place in, quoting the Steam page here, a sewage-infused garbage world, which, from the gameplay here, you can probably tell is pretty accurate. I mean, if you want to know what playing a computer virus feels like, this is probably the closest thing to it. You play as this depressed loser, willing to modify his body in some pretty horrific biopunk-esque ways in order to kill for this organization he's a part of called the Cruelty Squad. Roll credits. I guess it's not a movie, that doesn't make any sense, but basically the Cruelty Squad is a organization that other companies pay to carry out assassinations and massacres and such. Some very fun and lighthearted jobs. Each mission, you have to kill some target for whatever reason the Overseer gives you, and you will carry these out. You will kill all these people, no matter how ridiculous and outlandish the premise. Except for a lot of times, you won't kill these people, because this game is punishing as hell. But not necessarily in a bad way. The game gets easier the more you die, which is nice, and it reminds you constantly of your lack of humanity. But thankfully it's in a good way. It adds to the character of the game. First time you die, you see this strange looking screen that says Divine Light Severed. And it also says you are now a flesh automaton activated by neurotransmitters. And flesh is quite the aesthetic motif in this game. There's flesh exosuits, flesh automatons, flesh rats, flesh everythings. It's kind of like the aesthetic equivalent of a Doom Mancubus. Now, if this were the entire game, I would not be making a video on this. There's so much more than just a crappy looking Hitman clone. I mean, how many other games have you played where there's a simulated stock market, organ market, and fish market? And yes, there is fishing in this game. And organ collection. And investing. You can also visit the Cruelty Squad HQ, where there'll be some nice faces that will support you in your fall from grace as you turn into a depraved hunk of flesh, empty with no chance of returning. Also, if you talk to NPCs in these missions, they'll give you some quite interesting responses or dialogue that kind of makes you question what is actually going on. Also, all the levels are full of old school Doom-like secrets. Even a lot of the game's mechanics are secret at first too. I mean, it's so much fun discovering the game's mechanics for yourself. Like, for example, when you die enough to reach the easiest difficulty, which is basically signified by a flesh doomer appearing on your death screen, because you're costing the company too much money, you learn very quickly that you can't pick up enemies' corpses anymore, and instead you cannibalize them for health, which is pretty sick. Also, the equipment and implants that you use sometimes have hidden effects that you don't sort of think of right away, or it just outright doesn't tell you, which is always surprising and amazingly fun. Like, for example, the level 5 body armor is described as giving you 40% armor, and in the description it says no apparent downsides, but once you equip the item, you realize very quickly that it has a glaring downside, which is that you are enwreathed in a flesh bodysuit, which does in fact give you the 40% armor with no speed penalty like the other armors, but you are enwreathed in so much flesh that you cannot see 90% of your screen. Like, you cannot see your life bar, your FOV is reduced to like 10. And it's these kind of discoveries that really make this game just something else. Now, since I want to keep this relatively short, I'll try to just abridge the rest of what I have to say, which is that you unlock most weapons and equipment and implants just by finding them in levels. Exploration really pays off. Sometimes you just get completely lost just in the most random of places. All the different weapons, equipment, and implants combined with the different routes you can take to get to a target, and the Doom-style secrets, and super cryptic and unsettling lore and aesthetic lead to this game being quite a surprise. I think you all will like it a lot more than you think you will. I sure did.